Good morning once again. Happy Tuesday. Craig DeLuz here, Coffee with Craig. Glad you could join us. Today's topic is going to be kind of interesting. Looking through some stuff on on all of the blog feeds, and I came across something that was really interesting, and it's kind of cool because this was actually something that I had a meeting with a particular legislative staffer with about last week. Basically, in Congress, they've now established the Second Amendment Caucus. Basically, this is a group, right now it's solely Republican legislators, who decided to come together and say, we're going to be a caucus that is going to stand for the Second Amendment. Now, what a caucus is, they have various different caucuses. They have, it's a group of people who are legislators who agree that, hey, this is a subject area that we want to educate ourselves on and advocate on behalf of. So you have you'll have like the Black Caucus, or you have the Business Caucus, or you have the LGBTQI Caucus, whatever it might be. But you have these people who come together and they say, we're going to address issues in this specific area. And anyway, it's exciting, and I'm glad that they're doing it. It's kind of sad that it took getting a Republican majority in both houses and a Republican president for them to actually decide to do this. I mean, it's kind of easy to be bold when you're in the majority. Just saying, from behind enemy lines here in California. Anyway, but I do want to say that I'm glad with these members. Now, the inaugural members of the caucus are Representatives Jeff Duncan from South Carolina, Ted Yoho from Florida, Brian Babin from Texas, Paul Gosar from Arizona, Mark Meadows from North Carolina, Ken Buck from Colorado, Alex Mooney from West Virginia, Justice Amash from Michigan, Jody Heiss from Georgia, Dave Bratt from Virginia, Warren Davidson from Ohio, Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, and James Comer from Kentucky. Now, other members will be allowed to join if their voting records are pretty much good on Second Amendment or firearms legislation. Now, the interesting thing about this is that I'm wondering, okay, well, where are the representatives from California? Where are the representatives from New York? I mean, I gotta believe that there is at least one representative. They may be in the minority of their particular caucus, of their particular state caucus, but I gotta believe that there are members in Congress who would happen to believe in the Second Amendment and stand strong for the Second Amendment. I would encourage them, look, hey, folks, you know who you are. I don't want to call you out by name. You need to join this caucus. I'm hoping to see a press release coming out of your offices telling me. And by the way, folks, call your congressional representative. Tell them they need to become a member of the Second Amendment caucus. And let's see some real, let's see something substantive come out of it. Now, what they've said their goal is that they want to pass, they say, meaningful firearms legislation. But they also want to come against infringements infringements on our Second Amendment rights. Now, one of the examples of that people are talking about is national reciprocity, where basically one state will have to recognize another state, or at least set rules for another state requiring them to recognize the concealed carry permits from other states. That's just one example of kind of how they're looking to make sure that our rights aren't infringed upon. But I'm sure that's not the only one. One of the other things, and probably to me the most important thing that they say that they're going to do, is they're actually going to bring in experts, firearms experts, not just policy experts, but technology experts, to help members and their staff understand the industry, help them to understand the technology. Because here's the thing, and I love our Republican, or not our Republican, I love our Republicans, being a Republican, but what I really like is we do have some really good, solid voting, pro-Second Amendment legislators here in California. The biggest challenge that we have is, too often, they don't really know the technology super well, and they don't really understand the legislation and the industry super well. And in their defense, there's not a whole lot of people who do. I mean, it's a very small, close-knit group of people who know and understand firearms policy, know it to the detail that I would feel comfortable with policymakers having. But having said that, it'd be nice to have that same sort of educational process taking place here, behind enemy lines here in California. So with that, I want to encourage you also to call your state representatives, call your assemblyman, call your state senator, and tell them we need a Second Amendment caucus here in California. We got all sorts of caucuses. We've got we got the water caucus, we've got the school board caucus, we've got once again the LGBTQII caucus, we've got the Black caucus, the Latino caucus. We can have a Second Amendment caucus. It's time for folks to stand up, be loud and proud, do what legislators couldn't do at the federal level. While you're in the minority, while you are behind enemy lines, stand loud and proud for our constitutional rights, stand for the Second Amendment. Anyway, I want to encourage you guys to do that. I want to thank you. Take some time. Actually, I almost forgot. We need to see what you guys have to say about this. See, now I didn't forget about you. I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, he forgot about us. How could he? No, I have not forgotten about you. Y'all are my peeps. Where are we at here? Come on, come on. See, you got to love computers because they never move quite as fast as you really want them to. Okay, so where are we at? Wasn't this what was supposed to be in place here in California prior to Moonbeam signing everything into law? I do not know that if there was a Second Amendment caucus, I have to be honest, I didn't know about it. I'm sure there are a group of members who said that they were going to stand, but I don't know in terms of people bringing in members, bringing in people from the firearms community, technical experts, industry experts, policy experts. I know that didn't happen, at least not here in California. Would love for it to happen. So who knows? Maybe we'll work to make sure that happens. Let's see here. Fire Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, well, that's at the federal level. We can get more freedom arguments for marginalized gun owners. Can we get more freedom arguments for marginalized gun owners? That's an interesting question. I have no idea what it means. I mean, let me take it back. First of all, you have to understand that to a certain degree, arguing logic, it makes sense and it's good, and I do it all the time. But a big part of it just has to do with the fact that when you're putting forth legislation that is not based on logic, that's based on fear and fear-mongering, and you really don't know what you're doing, then logic has a very hard time working its way through. So a big part of what I think the role of this caucus would be is, one, to educate each other, but also to educate other members of the legislature, help them to better understand it, to know why some of these laws that they're proposing aren't going to have the effect that they think. And I can tell you, and I know I can tell you that there are in fact members who, if when educated and given all of the facts, that they're open to the idea that maybe that's not the way to go. And I can tell you, AB 2459, we killed it last year because we were able to get information to members to help them understand why it wasn't going to work. There were a couple of other bills that we were almost able to kill. We got members to change their mind. Some of those anti-gun members of the legislature changed their mind because we were able to get to them the facts. Now, facts oftentimes are trumped by politics. But there are a number of members who, if we can get them the facts, who knows? Maybe we can get them to change their mind. Let's see another one. Wow, a caucus for a right. Yes, we need to have a caucus for a right. That was Frank. Good luck with California liberal intelligence. I can tell you that if you look at California, you can say that it's left wing, but the fact is look at how we voted. This is the state that up until recently had not passed a tax increase. This is a state that voted for Megan's Law. I mean, it's a state that is pretty, I would say, left of center, but it's not far left. The legislature is far left, but as a voting bloc, California is not. California is probably slightly left of center, and it's important for us on these issues to find those close to left of center members and work with them. And by the way, the California legislature, even though the Democrats have a supermajority, A huge chunk of that supermajority are those slightly center-left Democrats. Ignoring them and refusing to communicate with them and saying, oh, well, they're never going to listen, that's not going to work. It hasn't worked for us in the past, and it won't work for us going into the future. It's important that we communicate with them because you never know. I might get that member on this issue. I might get another member on another issue. So it's important for us to do that, but it's also important for people who support us to know and understand why they believe what they believe, why they should vote the way that they should vote. Let's see, any other interesting comments? They don't care about the effects the bills or won't have. Yes, there are several who don't care. There are a number who do. And like I said, in some cases, they just think that they're doing the right thing. It's up to us to educate them that they're doing the wrong thing. Here's the thing. If I provide all of the accurate information, if I provide all the information and advocate, and they still vote again, and they still vote the way that they vote, they can't say they didn't know. What I don't ever want to do is I don't want legislators to be able to stand up and say when this all stuff turns to crap and it doesn't and people wind up getting hurt. I don't want them to say, well, we didn't know that would happen. No, we're going to tell you. You're going to know that it's going to happen, that could have happened. So you don't have any plausible deniability. Buy them off. Yeah, you never buy politicians. You can only rent them. Let's see, with ammo ban, does it make it a crime to go to Arizona and Nevada to buy ammo? Okay, off topic. It is off topic, but since I read the question, I'll actually answer it. Yes, if you go out of state, if you go out of state and buy ammo and you use the ammo in that state or out of state and don't bring it back in, then you're fine. But if you go out of state, buy ammo and bring it back into the state of California, you will have violated the law. Anyway, that's it for today's Coffee with Craig. Please remember, call your congressman, tell them they need to join the federal congressional Second Amendment caucus, and then call your state legislators, your assemblymen, and your state senator, and tell them that they need to create the California Legislative Second Amendment Caucus. Let's stand up. Let's make it heard. Look, their offices are quiet right now. They would love to hear from you. Anyway, guys, take care, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. If you like these updates, please share them with your friends and subscribe to our YouTube channel.